My gosh, it's another video essay. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Reese, and this is Reese Gray Analyzes. I am so excited that you guys decided to adventure with me today. On Reese Gray Analyzes, we look at creations and experiences in art, music, media, and even video games to explore exactly why we think the way we think, question what we believe, and learn something new. And if you are familiar with the internet, you are familiar with cringe. Or at least I am. I've been called cringe. I mean, I even tried to wear pigtails one day in front of my little brother, and he called it a cursed image. And so researching cringe through an academic perspective, so fun. I've missed this. There are a bunch of different articles and sources that we can pull from to understand what makes cringe cringe and what we might misunderstand about cringe and the different definitions of cringe you may have never even heard before. And though there is a modern Gen Z attempt to reclaim the word cringe, for example, I am cringe but I am free, we all kind of understand that if you are called cringe, it has a negative connotation. If you're cringing at something, it's always negative. So before we get into this, what is your favorite thing to cringe at? No, really, let me know, because The Office, Michael Scott's cringe, that gets to me. That is chef's kiss cringe.
Yeah! Okay, dancing! It is a primal art form used in ancient times to express yourself with the body!
I'm also partial to the deep fried memes. I really like the VeggieTales ones. I have been judged for this, but I will continue to like those. So number one, cringe and the social hierarchy. There is a really fun definition of the cringe aesthetic. It will be linked on reesegray.com and below. So to read it directly, cringe individuals are usually violating social and physical taboos, ultimately ending up in embarrassing narrative situations, and are themselves failing at reading the room and are unaware of it. Stuff that feels cheesy or bad performances, like American Idol cringe compilations of feminists being owned, are also very popular as cringe content. And even users who take things too seriously or are too sincere. Videos where they're a little vulnerable. I'll upload a little sad clip here.
Processing the most triggering breakup I've had in 9 years.
So that was a TikTok where a user talks about using their bodies to express sadness and how to work through difficult emotions through your body. Now, sure, is this something that is opposite to the status quo? Of course, which was the point of her video, to try and normalize it. However, it was memed to hell. It was memed to death.
Wait, so my entire family just died in a plane crash? No, sorry, I just don't really know what to say. Could I actually call you back later?
She originally didn't handle the criticism or the hate very well and uploaded videos kind of defending herself.
I just want to explain a little bit about my process and the way that I make content and why maybe it has generated some type of reaction. I am always in some type of emotional process because it's my work and it feels like it's my responsibility to take my own shit and alchemize it so that I can teach others how to do the same.
However, she did come back later making fun of herself after a popular video from a different TikTok actually gave her that advice.
I am processing the most triggering internet trolling I've experienced in 9 years.
So the internet has given us this brand new anonymous social playground to experiment with laughing at real people and their real actions through a screen, almost depersonalizing them. So based on this article, the media plays on this by exhibiting characters' visual portrayals, often break with cinema's and television's aesthetic conventions around the female or male body and gender. Some examples are Medea or White Chicks and Bridesmaids, where there's a cringy or comic relief characters stray from the social norms of physical attractiveness. So it makes it easier for the viewer to cringe and laugh at their expense. So people who are cringe exhibit this unawareness of expected social behaviors, which makes everyone feel bad for them. So it's a little bit of an empathetic response. Because, you know, we're all a little bit cringe and nobody is exempt from that. Cringe content can exist for us to laugh at, And I think as long as we come from it at a place of compassion, we can laugh at each other. However, writer Caleb Clark argues that cringe is inherently mockery. And depending on the context of the relationship between people, mockery can be disrespectful or it can just be in jest. Just a funny joke. Everyone's kidding because nobody's taking anything seriously. Like when my brother called my pigtails cringe, because it was just a funny joke. So cringe is mockery of groups or activities that are harmless, awkward, and or too earnest for the ever ironic web. Because if there's one thing that everybody, especially Gen Z, let's be honest here, is terrified of, it's being genuine. This place of enjoying things ironically is a safe place to exist because if nothing is ever taken seriously, you're safe. Well, what do the professionals have to say about why we cringe? So, developmental psychologist Philippe Rocher says cringe is an automatic empathy response, or the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. But why would you self-insert yourself into cringe content? This psychologist gives us 2 ways that people decide to use that empathy response. And this is either 1, to feel contempt. So in order to feel superior to others, you feel the cringe. So compassionate response to cringe, oh no, they just got turned down publicly, I can't handle it. Or you see cringy music and you're like, ooh, I kind of want to release music too. I don't really have a big budget and I feel like something I create will be very, very similar to that. So I'm just gonna use that as a lesson and not do what I want to do, which is upload something, create something. Kind of basically like, oh, I see myself, but at least I'm not captured on camera, and that's cathartic to me. That's comforting to me. So people laugh at those people because they literally get it. They literally empathize with the person on screen. In this case, the empathy response kind of comes from a place of insecurity, like from the viewer's perspective. Because unintentional cringe is usually uploaded based on interest or passion in creating things, usually art, authentically. Yet because of the low quality or bad quality or legitimately bad quality of these expressions, people project their own insecurities onto other people's creations and feign this sense of superiority, because those who choose to put themselves out there, those who create, maybe the viewer isn't even brave enough to do that for themselves, but they still judge, they still cringe because they empathize. And we see this commonly by people who anonymously critique or hate on cringy creators. These anonymous accounts, not connected to anything, with no profile pictures. It's the coward's critique. Like, you can have a cringe response and either be compassionate or be unkind about it. So having a cringe response doesn't make it a negative emotion. Just like having arguments with people, the word argument is not an inherently negative word. However, we sometimes attribute preconceived notions of aggression and conflict with the word argument. Same with cringe, it's not inherently negative. So with this article I'm referencing, it actually doesn't make moral assertions, right? So it says that they claim the point of cringe culture isn't to be constructive or instructive. It's basically finding entertainment through secondhand embarrassment, whether the actors are intentionally being weird, like Michael Scott, or genuine, like Rebecca Black. Not now, like way back then. People love her now, we know. So it's just a way to laugh at people from behind the screen, which can feel cathartic. All right, but in conclusion, let's not get holier than thou. I have laughed at the American Idol cringe compilations myself. You're not a bad person if you laugh at somebody or cringe. There are whole art forms dedicated to such, the appreciation of cringe, such as The Office. Just don't go out of your way to shame somebody for something that's harmless. And I think that mindset in itself has changed a lot since I was a teenager. My brother, who's 17 right now, was asking him, like, during his college, but he ain't no genius. No, I'm just kidding. During his high school, like, what is uncool? What is cringe? Because back, circa 2010, Oh my god. Like, you are not allowed to stand out. What was uncool were like anime kids or band kids or something. Like, they were the out groups. And I didn't even like Twilight, but I felt like I had to be hashtag Team Jacob because I didn't want to be left out. And maybe that goes like differently with kids too. Maybe some kids are just more confident than others. I was not. But nowadays, my brother claims that people are way less judgmental now. Like, you're allowed to have different interests and people don't inherently think that you're super weird. Like, I remember when I was in high school, like, you couldn't even wear a Naruto shirt and get away with it. Like, people would be like, oh my god, wow, weeb. And that could be, I guess, dependent on maybe like where exactly you grew up. And I'm really curious to hear about your guys's experiences. So leave in the comments like when you were in high school, the general thoughts around like who was cringe and who didn't fit in. Did you have out groups, or was everyone kind of like able to like what they liked and got along? But yeah, that's kind of really hard to say because it just depends on the kind of social group you're a part of too. I have a friend, she's a literal accomplished international model. And she has a lot of issues with self-confidence and how she presents herself around other people. And that's like probably dependent on her career, but she's always afraid to stand out. I'm super curious to hear about your guys' experience. But in general, I guess it's hypocritical to look at any group in any time period and think that they are irredeemable or uncool and thus like deemed so cringe that they exist within the outskirts of society. Like, most of the time it's just someone just enjoying what they enjoy, and we should just let them enjoy that and leave them alone. But yeah, this video essay was kind of just a little taster and talk about visceral reactions, because you guys know I'm really interested in like visceral reactions in pop culture and how that affects how we treat people and how we view ourselves. So I was really interested in the impulsive cringe, why we impulsively feel something is cringy, whether or not we want to be nice about it or mean about it, and just like we're all a little cringe, so how to deal with that maybe in a more positive way. And we can laugh at others because something's silly or low quality, but that doesn't make them any less cringe than we are. So I guess cringe will always be a part of the online world. It's just kind of how we deal with it. I think it's just putting kindness first that will make everyone able to laugh at themselves and others a little bit more. I guess, of course, no matter what you're consuming online, people are more than just pixels on a screen. In short, cringe culture is cringe. And when people call people cringe, or me cringe or you cringe, I cringe, because we are all cringe. So leave in the comments why you're cringe. Also, this video is way shorter than like my other video essays usually. Based on my analytics, you guys like to watch about 15 to 20 minutes, so hopefully I boiled this down enough for you guys so that it is enjoyable in just one take, like a nice soup. Alright, so let me know what you guys think in the comments, and love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Okay, bye.
This record is in honor of George Floyd, and I really hope we can see more unity and more peace when already things are so difficult. So, shout out to his family.